Hi everyone, my name is Aziz and I'm from Master the Crypto. And today we're going to have a live interview with a project called Codex Protocol, which is very interesting. And Codex is essentially a one-liner. It's a decentralized registry for the arts and collectible industry. We'll talk about it in a moment, all right? Here with me is the founder of Codex Protocol, which is Mark. Right. So, Mark, can you introduce yourself and tell us more about your background and your role in Codex?
Sure. So, first of all, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here with everyone. My name's Mark Lurie. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Codex Protocol. To give you the personal background, I have a business and venture capital and technology background. So I did my undergrad in economics and went to business school at Harvard, worked in venture capital for a while, and then started a business called Lofty.com, which is an online marketplace for art and collectibles. And I ran that for about 4 years and sold it a year and a half ago. And from that experience, really realized how much opportunity there is to solve a lot of deep problems for this market of collectibles, but also unique assets broadly using the blockchain. And so that's why we're building Codex Protocol, to address a lot of those problems.
All right, thanks for that, Mark. All right, so let's understand more about Codex Protocol. Right? Can you tell us more about a high-level overview of the project and how it could be disruptive to the arts and collectibles industry?
Sure. So Codex is a decentralized registry for unique assets, kind of like a title registry. And we're initially focused on art and collectibles, which includes art, wine, jewelry, watches, collectible cars, coins, and more. And in other words, we're bringing the provenance of these items onto the blockchain, which is their history of ownership and kind of information about them and what various people with expertise have said about these items in the past. It's the identity of these items. And it's really important because that's where value comes from in this market. And it's really the only asset class that doesn't have a title registry today, which makes it really hard to do a lot of things. And the reason it doesn't have a title registry today is because people want privacy. They don't want to disclose what art or wine or jewelry they own to the government. And that's why one hasn't existed. But with blockchain, we can track the ownership of items without compromising the privacy of individuals. And for that reason, we have the backing of an industry consortium, which includes 5,000 auction houses that sell $6 billion a year of these items. It's about 10 million items. And they want a title registry to happen because it's going to be so beneficial for this market. And they're supporting us. And that's how we're getting a lot of adoption for what we're building. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so thanks for that. And it's interesting when you talk about, okay, a blockchain is essentially a transparent database, and a main challenge or limitation of the ANC industry, of the arts and collectible industry, is that people want to be private, right? So what, in your solution, what are the technology or the models that you guys use to make sure that the privacy of those stakeholders are maintained while using the blockchain?
So there's multiple ways to use it. Ultimately, we're a registry. It's like a database. And if you are super concerned about privacy, you can, and you're a technical user, you can log in with MetaMask. You can register your ownership and save information about the piece in the blockchain. And that information itself can be stored off-chain so that you can manage privacy settings around it. And that enables you to have kind of perfect privacy while you still track the history of ownership of these items. Now, not everyone's going to want to do that. And so we let people have as much privacy as they want. And so what most people will probably do is use a centralized application that provides them with a simple username and login so that they can easily access the registry without knowing, crypto and without knowing blockchain, and store their information in Codex. Now that's not as private, but it's still pretty private because they only have to trust one application They certainly don't have to trust the government or a major auction house or any central authority with all this information. So we really let people use the protocol however they want to. And that's how we balance privacy and usability.
All right, thanks for that. That's clear now, because it means that there are choices, as in a user has the choice whether he wants to display his privacy settings or what sorts. So that's good. Okay, let's dive it deep into the model, right? In your model, according to the white paper, validators who validate the provenance data, right, which is metadata associated with the unique assets, right? They play a vital role in validating and verifying those provenance data. Okay, in the real world, let's just take a look at the real world, right? The role is usually undertaken by experts and specialists, right? So how do you ensure that in your system that the validators within the Codex protocol are qualified? Is there like a process or reputation system or some sort of?
Yeah, that's a great question. So why don't I explain how Codex Coin works and I'll explain how those rewards work, and then I'll be able to answer that question more clearly. Okay?
Yeah.
Great. So the key to this system is Codex Coin. And Codex Coin is used by third parties who want to access the registry. Just like when you want to buy a car, you have to pay for that title, and the insurance company has to register their ownership, their insurance, and the car loan company has to register a lien. Applications, especially financial products, will pay fees to use the registry. So you might pay to create a title, transfer a title, add a lien to a title. All the things you need to do to keep this information up to date. And you can either pay or you can stake, and then you can use it for free. Now, when you pay, these fees are used to reward validators who make sure the metadata information in the metadata in the database is correct. And the simple answer to your question is, these are the same people that do it today. In the world today, if you have a piece, you hire an appraiser to certify that it's accurate. You might go to a foundation. You might only buy from an auction house like Christie's and not from an auction house that's local, because you might not trust them and their appraisers. And so that's how it works today. And we're just letting them sign their certifications on the blockchain to certify that metadata there, so it's verifiable, instead of doing it in computers and emails and paper today, which is just easily replicated and faked. So it's actually very similar to how it works today. We're just verifying their certifications. Now, how do we know they're good? Well, one is you decide how much to trust them. So if they've published their identity and they're a well-known appraiser, you might trust them more. We also have if they're a well-known auction house, you might trust them even more. We also are building a reputation system so that we can give them a rank. And a big way we do that is by having them predict results at auction. So you know how good they are at predicting prices. And that tells you if they're good at what they do.
Okay, thanks for that. A reputation system that I think that makes a lot of sense, right? So that we know that they are qualified and they know their stuff, right? Exactly. All right. So it's interesting that you talk about that, right? Okay, which I'm gonna transit to the second core aspect, right? Which is talking about Codex solution, right? Aside from the revolutionary use of blockchain technology, another core component is the digitization, which could disrupt the space, right? And there was a very interesting statistics brought up in the white paper, which states that only 15% of the total ANC sales in the industry were transacted online. And it seems like there's an obvious, sort of like a resistance towards digitization. So perhaps this is expected due to the nature of high-valued assets that needs physical verification, right? So this is a tremendous challenge to overcome. How do you see the dynamics of the industry moving towards digitization?
So I think a lot of the industry actually is already digitized. So you're right, about 15% of auction sales happen online, but 100% of items are listed online and digitized. And so only 15% are actually purchased online. Now, we're going to be synced into the databases that these auction houses already use, the technology they already use. So everything is already digitized and can be synced into the database pretty easily. That's a big reason why we're partnered with the consortium, because it means we'll get all this data. But you're right, only 15% actually transacts online, and it's interesting, and the question is, why is that? And I think the answer is that it actually is varied a lot. Some auction houses have tons online, and some have very little. eBay's growth in the 90s was all based on collectibles. That's how it grew. So it's clearly something that is done online, and there's many top auction houses where most people bid through mobile apps and the web. I think a big reason that some auction houses have very low online bidding is because they charge extra fees if you bid online. And so people call in or they show up in person. And a lot of auction houses don't let people bid online because they're not sure they'll pay for what they win. And so they want to be able to see those people in person because they think it's more likely that people will pay for what they win. So there's a few reasons, and some of those we're solving. And that's a big reason why auction houses want to work with us. We're actually making it so the items on sale from our consortium, this 10 million items worth $6 billion, are going to be purchasable with crypto. There's already 10,000 items that are purchasable with crypto today at our auction houses because we're live, from Rolexes to Picassos. And because a registry and a system of information helps solve some of the issues that prevent more online bidding today.
All right, that makes sense. Okay, I just want to touch on, continue on what you said about the auction houses accepting cryptocurrencies, right? It seems like there's a growing trend, but the auction houses, right? Can you shed light on the operational readiness and inclination of these stakeholders, such as what you mentioned, auction houses, in accepting cryptocurrencies as a medium of exchange, because we understand the obvious risk, volatility, and the lack of regulations. So do you think that now they are ready to use cryptocurrencies as a medium of exchange?
I think so, because it doesn't actually require that much behavior change. If you're an auction house and you want to accept crypto, you can transfer it into fiat as soon as you receive it. And so, Codex is a registry, and it enables different applications to build on top of it, different dApps. And we're creating a first dApp called Biddable, which helps you buy at auction with crypto. But this is just going to be integrated into the e-commerce and payment system used by these auction houses already, so it doesn't require any behavior change. As far as the auction house is concerned, people are bidding in crypto, the auction house is receiving fiat, and then they're issuing certificates of authenticity, which are backed by the blockchain instead of on PDFs and paper. And I think the key to getting adoption is not requiring behavior change. And so I think they're ready because everyone wants to sell more and everyone wants to make more money. So of course they want that. They want to serve the crypto audience. You just have to make it so that they convert instantly.
All right, sure. Thanks for that. With regards to the competitors, right? Do you see any other projects as your main competitors?
Yeah, there's lots. I think this is a really big need and a pretty obvious use of blockchain. So there's a lot of people working on this problem. The difference is that we have a consortium from the industry. So we have a lot of adoption that's built in. And that's really the key. It's about how do you actually get users and items, and that's what sets us apart.
All right, so yeah, that makes sense. And that's a very obvious thing to understand. But but a lot of the projects don't seem to get that, right? The go-to-market strategy and the fact that you have to have a network of ready users, right? So can you tell us more about the consortium and about the statistics or the partnerships that you guys have done with regards to enhancing the brand of Codex Protocol?
Sure. So we have a bunch of partners. The most important are the providers of bidding and e-commerce technology to the auction houses. And in particular, we're partnered with a company called Live Auctioneers and Auction Mobility. They power a lot of the auction houses in the world. And so, we have long-term exclusive contracts to be the only way to purchase with crypto, and the only title registry that can be used. And so that's how we're getting a lot of our data. Now, once that data's in, there's a bunch of companies that need it to do business. And some of those partnerships include an asset-backed lender called Luxury Asset Capital, a company that securitizes and tokenizes art so you can trade shares of it called Mycenas, a company called Value My Stuff, which provides overnight appraisals from experts, a company called Dust, which ties physical items to digital records using RFID tags and digital fingerprints and crystalline dust on the pieces. And so there's a bunch of companies that have already partnered with us to make sure that that valuable services are provided to people who own titles. And that's how we're getting adoption and giving people reasons to keep using it.
Okay, thanks for that. So if I'm a user and I use one of the platforms within the consortium, right? What are the currencies which are accepted as of this moment, and what are the plans for moving forward?
Right now, in our beta, we accept Bitcoin, and after we launch, we'll accept Bitcoin, Ether, and for a discount, Codex Coin.
All right, so three main coins, right? Okay. Right. So let's move on into the token utility. Just now, you mentioned a bit about the functions of the coins. Now, can you tell us at a deeper level, what's the role of the Codex coin, and how, as a user, as a holder of the token, what that entitles me to?
Sure. So long-term, we see Codex coin being the token of this ecosystem. What it is at first is it gives access to the registry. So if you want to create a record or transfer it or change it or add a lien or add insurance, then you have to either pay Codex coin or stake Codex coin. And we think most of the people who will be doing this are the commercial users, the auction houses, the lenders, the appraisers, because they're doing a lot. And so they're going to want to stake a lot of Codex coins so that they don't have to pay fees. So that's really what the Codex coin entitles you to, is access to this system. And those fees are used to pay validators who ensure the integrity of the system. And that's really how it works. Now, there's a bunch of other uses for Codex coin. It'll give you discounts when you buy all these art and collectibles. It might be used to pay for your valuation or get a loan, get a quote on a loan. But those are all things that happen as Codex coin grows through the ecosystem. At first, it's used to access the registry and the data.
All right, so I want to ask about the fees, right? In terms of example, you say most of the stakeholders that's going to use change records are those from auction houses, or those are institutional side, right? So let's talk about the fees. Given that, assuming that the supply is fixed and there's more traction, there's more demand for the coin, prices would in the long term go up. So what about the fees? Will they go up as well, or are they going to be stagnant or fixed or pegged to something?
The fees can change, and that's where governance comes in. The consortium, token holders, et cetera, will be able to have input into how fees are changed so that they're always affordable. You can kind of think of it as gas in Ethereum, but there's a way to make sure that they don't become too expensive and hurt all the token holders.
All right. Okay, thanks for that clarification. Okay, let's move on into the traction of the Codex protocol. Okay, as you said, you talked about Biddable, which is the first functional app on the Codex protocol. Can you tell us more about it and the development stage it's in right now?
Sure. So the registry is on testnet and will be on mainnet at the end of this month. You can go and check it out now and play around. Our first application, Biddable, is already live. So you can already bid on thousands of items from Rolexes to Picassos with crypto. We're already integrated into a bunch of auction houses. And if you want to see them, you can go to codexprotocol.com, click on the link for Biddable, and you'll click through to see a lot of the items that are on sale. So we're really excited that we have a product in market and that people are already using it. It makes us really excited about the future because we think there's a lot of actual progress we can make over the next several months.
That's awesome. It's always good to have a project that already has a live and running product and already tested, right? So that's always a positive indicator of the progress of the project, right? And there's also the Codex Viewer, right? So can you tell us more about the Codex Viewer, what it does?
Sure. Codex Viewer is an application that helps you interact with the registry. It's relatively simple. You can create a record by uploading information. You can get an auction house or a validator to digitally sign that item and certify it. And you can transfer those records to future owners. And the history of the item will be preserved immutably in the blockchain. So it's a way to create and browse titles, and it makes it usable for people.
Is it ready? Is it is it fully ready right now?
Yeah, you can go on and use it right now.
Excellent, thanks for that. All right. So are there any other
and if you create records, you can win rewards.
Yeah, I'm sure that
now we're giving away a bunch of Codex coin if you go in and claim artwork and upload things and use it and test it out.
All right, that's a further incentive for users to interact with the Codex protocol and hopefully earn some rewards. That's great. Okay, so are there any other dApps in development right now or are expected to be developed on the Codex protocol anytime soon?
Yes, there's a bunch that have been announced. There's one that will give loans, so you can borrow against your assets. There's one that will provide valuations. There's one that will provide insurance. There's one that will connect the physical items to the digital records. There's one that helps you securitize and tokenize it. So a bunch of apps have already been announced, and there's a lot more that are in the pipeline to be announced.
Okay, that's excellent. I mean, I'm sure many who are following your progress would be excited to learn more about that. Okay, and can you tell us about the roadmap ahead of the Codex protocol? What can we expect?
Our focus is really going to be on adoption. And so over the next several months, we're going to be onboarding hundreds and thousands of auction houses. So more and more items are actually available for purchase and registered in our registry. Because the more data is there, the more valuable it is to businesses and applications to build on it, which gives more value to the owners of the items in the registry. And so that's why we're really focused on adoption, getting more auction houses on board.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, right? All right, let's transit to another category of questions, right? About the team, right? How many team members are working full-time on the project right now?
We have 10 full-time team members now. We have a great engineering team. My co-founder and CTO, John Forrest, comes out of Microsoft's identity division. He helped integrate their consumer and enterprise authentication systems. So he knows a lot about identity and security. That's also the division that works on blockchain and Microsoft. And we have a great product team that includes a few more people, some senior developers. a lot of experience, and a product manager who previously worked at Archain and Google.
Okay, that's good.
Then,
And what? Sorry, do you have anything to add on your team?
my other co-founder, Jess Fulgrave, is responsible for operations and marketing. She has experience at Sotheby's, in banking and private equity at Credit Suisse and a pension fund, and studied economics at Oxford.
Okay, that's impressive. Okay, that's an impressive line of team members. One positive thing also which I found out was that your GitHub is very, very active in development, headed by your CTO. So I think that, in our review, that's actually a plus point for you guys, because a very active GitHub repository means that there's more robust development of the project. So good on you guys on that. Okay.
Thanks.
And lastly, let's touch on a bit of the legal mundane side, but it's very important for us to assess any project, right? So first question on the legal side, right? So what safeguards have you put in place to ensure that any investments into your project is used for the purpose advertised to investors?
So we're a US company. And the first thing I want to specify is that we're selling tokens, and they're utility tokens, and it shouldn't be construed as an investment. We have a lot of great people who have participated in the token sale, from Pantera Capital to a number of others. We have a lot of incentives to make sure that there's alignment. So the team has a lockup over 18 months, the team's tokens, and the community fund is locked up even longer. We have a bunch of really important industry players on board, and other investors and stakeholders that make sure that we're building what we say we're going to build. Does that answer the question?
Yep, that does actually. Okay, who are the main advisors? Main shareholders of of your company, and who stands at the board? Can you reveal to us, or it's private?
I can certainly talk to it a bit.
Yeah, sure.
So our shareholders come from the industry itself. They are industry stakeholders. They're often affiliated. They're affiliated with our consortium. So you can actually think of this as a joint venture from the industry to make sure that we're building something that's really important for the industry. And that's why we know that it'll be for the benefit of the ecosystem instead of just for the benefit of shareholders, because there's a lot of strategic people involved in the ownership of the company that's producing and releasing the protocol, which itself is open source.
All right. Second last question, right? Do you have a law and accounting firm to be the main advisors for your project?
Yes, we have. We work with Cooley and Wilmer Hale on legal to make sure that we're compliant, and we have an accounting and bookkeeping firm as well, and they make sure that from an accounting perspective we're doing all the right things and accounting for things correctly.
Okay, that's good to know. And will there be a public? There will be a public sale, right? Yes.
I can't talk too much to that. If you visit the site, you can see all the details for anything you'd want to know. And you should join to find out about that. This week and next week, we have a whitelist period that's already completed. And so I encourage everyone to visit the site, and you can find out all the information about purchasing tokens there.
All right, sure. Thank you very much, Mark, for that. And with that, I think we've wrapped up the interview with Codex Protocol. Thank you very much for sharing with us about your project, and we truly do hope that everyone who watches this try to look at the website at Codex Protocol and try to see any other information that they would like. They can download the white paper, they can browse through the sites to see if they or even participate in the sale, right? So thank you very much once again, Mark, for your time, and I do hope that your project will be successful. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the time. Really appreciate it.